first one I want you to see is my adopted baby sister, Jessie, the self-appointed ambassador from Haiti, even though she was born in Florida. But I want you to see this interview. She talks about what it means to be raised by a preacher, what it means to be raised by a preacher who is a drug dealer, what it means to be a PK, what it means to date in these streets, and what it means to live beyond controversy. You're going to laugh, and then you're going to think. Come on to see what Jessie talking about. Tell me how you think your upbringing impacted your dating life.
Oh, Lord, how much time do we have?
We got time. That's all we got.
You know what? Dang, why are you asking me these questions?
Because I want to know. The people want to know.
Oh my gosh, why are you asking me this? So my therapist actually told me this the year before last. My therapist said I have abandonment issues. And so I think that I have a knack for going for people who don't keep their word.
Ooh.
Like I remember being a kid and my mom, even though they divorced and we moved to Miami, my mom always sent me to Canada every summer. So my dad had no excuse. Like my grandmother, my aunts, I still have a lot of family up there. So I would be there for 3 months out of the year. And then like, you know, if she wanted to send me some other time, she would.
Right.
But that was my dad, so you could have that opportunity. It's summertime, you know, you had that opportunity. Right. And I remember so many times when he would say, I'm gonna come pick you up. I'm gonna come pick you up. Ma vinchasho. Nobody sorti. I'm like, okay. And I'm getting ready. I'm like, Grandma, my dad gonna come get me. And she'd be like, okay.
Now, was this his mother or your mother's mother?
My mother.
Your mother's mother?
My mother's mother,
okay.
Yeah. I had a close relationship with my mother's mother. My dad's mom, she died when I was young.
Okay.
So yeah, she's like, okay, he's coming to get you. Okay, sweetie, you know. I'm like,
yeah, let's see.
He's coming to get me, and like he wouldn't come.
Right.
And I just remember just feeling like, dang, why doesn't he want me? What is it about me that you don't want me? Like just feeling that as a kid, and then I think growing up and then starting to go into relationships, I feel that a lot. Like, you'll say you're going to do something, you don't do it.
Right.
And you'll make promises, you don't keep them. And it makes you feel very, like, unwanted. Like, why don't you want me? What is it about me that you won't fight for me? What is it about me that you won't commit to me? My father never committed to me.
Wow.
And then I think being the oldest, I have 3 younger siblings, and I was always expected to do a lot. I feel like I was a mom at a very young age, but I didn't get the mothering. It was always, Jess, I need you to do this. Jess, I need you to do that. I gotta go to work, so I need to sleep. So can you make sure the kids have this? Can you make sure the kids have that? Can you go pick up your brother? Can you pick up your sister? And it's like, I didn't get that. Nobody really
provided that
for me, like, or that I never felt a closeness with my mother. I feel like my mom was always just trying to get by, trying to make things work. So I didn't have that with my mom. I felt very abandoned with her, and I didn't have my dad. So I feel like in relationships, I found the same thing. Like, I will go above and beyond. Like, if I'm in a relationship, like, I'll do a lot for you. You won't even have to ask. But I feel like I never have that in return. I always end up feeling abandoned. And so for me, a lot of times what I'll do is the moment I, like, see certain signs, I'm gone. Like, I've had a guy tell me that before. Like, he'll say, I'm so scared of you. Like, you just will up and leave. Like, you don't even, like, will tell me, well, where did I go wrong? I'm like, well, I feel like you should already know that.
Right.
So for me, I'm just like, all right, before you leave me, I'm gone. Like,
if there's any sign,
I'm gone. Yeah,
I'm kicking the door down
yeah.
if there's a crack in it.
I'm gone. You ain't got to worry about me. I got my tennis shoes on. I'm out. Like,
right.
Yeah.
When intimately, when stuff will happen in the press, media, social media, I reach out to you, make sure that you're okay.
Yeah.
When the whole Whitney Houston thing happened.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
yeah,
like,
you did.
You gonna live.
Yeah, you did.
But I'm curious now in this conversation, is that why you were so triggered when the stuff went wrong when you tried to date a preacher?
Ooh. Oh, you know that story.
Oh, you gave it to the whole world. You gave it to the whole
Ooh,
world.
you know that story.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so I took that as this wasn't just a random person who you encountered and dated, but it had layers.
Oh, there were layers.
Based off of
there were layers.
What your experience was and then bringing that to bear.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you this. My mother, Haitian parents, they want nothing but the best for their mother, their daughters when you're going to go marry, when you're going to go date. They want you to be doctor. You have to bring doctor, ingénieur. You know what I mean? Avocat, lawyer. And if you say preacher, that's a good one too, because contrary to a lot of beliefs, people think that Haitians don't believe in God, and that's so untrue. Yeah. Like, we're one of the most, like, even we have a saying in the Haitian culture, si Dieu veut, if God's will, if it be God's will, right? So let's say you say, oh, we're going to meet Monday. I'll say, okay, Monday, si Dieu veut. Lundi is Monday in Creole. So lundi, si Dieu veut. So everything is like God's will, God's will. So I remember...
Say God's will in Creole again.
Si Dieu veut.
You got to say that slow. I got a GED. Si what now?
Si Dieu veut.
Si Dieu veut.
Si Dieu veut.
I got it. God's will.
God's will.
If it be God's will. Again.
Yeah. Yes. So you'll say, we're going to meet up on Monday, but Monday, si Dieu veut. So that's always something that we say. So if I tell my mom, like, I met a preacher and, I met this, I met that. I remember meeting him before we ever became that. I met him like probably a year and a half, 2 years before that. And at the time, he wasn't preaching anymore. He had moved to LA and he was an actor and he had said he was like a spiritual leader to a lot of people that were in the business. And, I was like, okay. But it just was always a little, one thing about me, I always have questions.
Yes.
And I try not to be interrogative, but I can be an interrogator. And that's something I'm trying to,
No, it's better for you to ask questions.
It is, but
because otherwise you're going to be left with the answer later on.
Exactly.
So ask all of the questions. This is for everybody listening. No. Never be afraid of questions.
Exactly.
Ask them.
Exactly. But I think for me, there's a softer way to do it, though. Okay. Because I can be very thick. Like, I could be like that. I don't know if it's a Haitian thing, but I can be thick, So I try to soften up. But so when we had become like romantic, I did start asking more questions. Because he wasn't pastoring anymore. He wasn't getting placements like in acting. Right. And acting is not something that pays you a lot of money initially. Right. And so I'm seeing you with a fleet of cars. You got a Range Rover. You got the Wraith with the stars in the sky. You know what I'm saying? You got the, like you got the Bentley. You got the, the Rolls Royce. You got the BMW. So I'm asking questions now. Why you got a fleet of cars and when I come to your house, you ain't got no food like in the fridge? Yikes. Or you're not eating unless
Uber Eats. I got the whole thing.
Okay. Yes. So I was like, And then I remember him saying to me, I don't want to be a preacher anymore. I left that behind because they thought that I was doing all this stuff that I wasn't doing, but I need $10,000 and I'm getting asked to preach at a convention or something like that, preacher's conference, and they want to pay me $10,000. I was like, well, go ahead and do it. But I don't want to do it because I don't know if I want to go back into that world. And I was like, well, don't do it. But I need the money. And I was like, is this man trying to ask me for $10,000?
No.
And so I said, do it. And he said he wouldn't do it. And so I looked up on my socials one day, and it was the date that he said that the conference was. He said he wouldn't do it. Right. And I guess we had mutuals, and somebody posted him at the conference. And the conference was here in Georgia. And I was like, that's strange that you didn't hit me up.
Right.
tell me that you were doing it. But I had remembered he had mentioned another girl to me that he had dated. And he didn't know. And he didn't know that I knew her enough to reach out to her.
No.
And the moment
No.
and the moment I reached out to her, she knew. She knew. She was like, "What do you want to know?" She knew.
That girl is absolutely crazy. Whenever you got a moment to pray for Jessie Wu. And while you praying for her, pray for me. If you need to see all of this, make sure you tap that link below. I want you to relive the entire broadcast, the entire show, so that you'll know that laughter is medicine for the soul.